Yeah, I just seen the Breakfast Club. Jimmy popping all that. I be seeing Jimmy talking about, we Gucci boo boo. He in the Gucci store. Talking about, we Gucci boo boo. Them Black King they was going you up. Jimmy, they was like, Marita Monero. Coca-Cola.
Jim Jones, right? He ran with the same I ran with a decade before I met him. Jim Jones, the Dipset, the that was just over there dancing and on verses. Jim Jones was running with Shotty, Cafano Jordan, right? Mel Matrix, Jamel Jones, Roland Martin. He was running Fu Banger, Fuquan. I forgot his last name, Fuquan something. He was running with all of the cats I ran with and got his daddy for.
I created the aesthetic.
Okay.
For the diplomats. You heard? Dan and Cam's pink. You heard? He'll tell it.
Nah.
All right. Sooner or later, he gonna have to tell it. Where he got the pink from.
Then push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that. And you started pink and you made the diplomats, which is just, if people choose to believe that, then look, I got a bridge in Brooklyn.
Yo, 50 Cent just won't let those informant rumors about Jim Jones die down. He's back at it, pulling out fresh receipts and putting Jim right in the hot seat. If you've been paying attention to the streets or the blogs, you know Jim's been trying to shake off those snitch allegations for a minute now. It all started when his name got caught up in the whole Tekashi 6ix9ine trial. A wiretap got leaked where it sounded like Jim was plotting against 69, but when the feds came knocking on the 9 Trey Bloods, Jim somehow didn't get touched. Naturally, people started asking, how could Jim get caught on tape talking gang business, but never face any charges? Now, fast forward to today, and Jim and Cameron are already at each other's throats online, throwing shots left and right. Just when you think things can't get any worse for Jim, 50 Cent pops up with even more receipts, claiming Jim's been a Fed informant for years. But here's the real question. Is there any solid proof that Jim was working with the feds? And how's Jim reacting to 50 putting him on blast? Let's dive in and break it all down. Stay tuned.
50 said it.
And I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. You gotta watch and see how he responds. And then you see,
He was funny. I thought it was funny when he said it. But I didn't think it'd be a big deal because you make up with every nigga that put hands on you. But I see the pattern now. If you don't agree to disagree with you and don't want to take it that route because they got some genuine love for you, you keep going on and on.
The tension between Dipset's OGs, Cameron and Jim Jones, is heating up again, and this time, it's getting personal. If you've been following Dipset's history, you know these two have had their ups and downs. One minute they're brothers, the next they're rivals. But now, their old issues are coming back to the surface, and you can guess who's behind it. Yep, 50 Cent, stirring the pot once again. So, what's set this whole thing off? Well, Cam recently had 50 on his podcast, and during their conversation, Cam brought up something that's been bugging him for years. He reminded 50 about a moment in 2007 when Dipset was beefing with G-Unit, and Jim Jones popped up at one of 50's shows. 50 had a lot to say about it. He explained that at the time, Jim wasn't really a rapper, he was just rolling with the crew. According to 50, Jim was watching what G-Unit was doing and wanted to be a part of that. When Cam mentioned Jim's rise with Ballin', 50 said he could see that Jim had finally found his lane. But let's just say, 50 had some thoughts on the whole situation. So, Cameron took a shot at Jim Jones to see if he'd bite. He wasn't sure how Jim would respond, but he figured, why not? Cam was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, and threw it out there to test Jim. And guess what? Jim didn't back down. He took the bait, saying, oh, like that? Give me Jimmy. We want him at the show. The whole thing had everyone laughing, but Cam knew exactly what he was doing. It was a little challenge just to see how Jim would react. But Jim wasn't about to stay silent. He went on Justin Leo's Respectfully podcast to set the record straight and explain why he made the move back in 2007 to jump on stage with 50 Cent. Jim stood firm, saying he wasn't going to let rap politics mess with his hustle. He made it clear, I gotta do what's best for me. I'm not out here for nothing. I've worked too hard to get where I am. I didn't teach myself how to rap just for fame. I'm here to win. Jim's message was simple. He's all about securing his future and making sure he's not held back by beefs or drama. He's focused on what's going to benefit him in the long run. You can't blame him for that, right? Jim Jones wasn't trying to be anything less than one of the biggest and most successful in the game. He knew his worth and wasn't about to let anyone stop him. Reflecting on the past, he said, "Back then, I wasn't here to make friends. I was here to win. They called me up like, 'Yo, you want to perform?' And I'm rolling out with the hottest track, popping off. I wasn't worried about anyone looking at me sideways. If anyone tried something funny, I was ready. I was living like a pirate, not here for the drama. I was about business, staying focused, and making moves." Jim made it clear. He wasn't about being friends with anyone. He was about securing his spot. "If things went left, I handled it. No hesitation. I wasn't here for friendships. I was here to take over." But Jim wasn't done just yet. He went off on both Cam and 50, calling them out for even mentioning his name. "They've got nothing better to do than talk about me. After everything I've done for them," he fired back. "Both of them owe me. I've done way more for them than they're letting on." Jim Jones wasn't holding back at all. He straight up took credit for creating the iconic diplomat style, and even said he inspired Cameron's signature drip, including that famous pink fur coat. He explained, "When you're in Dipset, it's not about fitting in, it's about standing out. And I'm the one who set that whole vibe for us. I created the aesthetic." Then he went at Cam, saying, "You've heard Cam talk about the pink fur, but sooner or later, he's gonna have to admit where he got that idea from. I was the one who brought that style to the table. Somebody bring me a shot. If I'm lying, I'll wait." But Jim wasn't done just yet. He even told a story about how he was supposed to get a white Cadillac truck when he first joined the Diplomats, but things went a little differently. "When I first came through, my D showed up at the office, and I was rocking these pink Dioros with a pink stripe," he said. "I was supposed to get the white truck, but instead, I got the pink truck. People laughed, but I didn't care. I was making a statement." Jim Jones remembers the time when he stepped out in his pink polo shirt, and it was definitely turning heads. He was standing out in the room, but things didn't go as planned. The truck he was supposed to get didn't get delivered. "They were clowning me like, 'Look at this dude with all this fly stuff,'" Jim said, laughing. But Cam, being the trendsetter he is, saw the pink vibe and decided to run with it. Cam was like, "I'm taking that pink and going all in with it. Whatever works for the crew, that's what we're doing," Jim explained. But he made sure to remind everyone that pink wasn't new to him. "I've been rocking pink every Easter. Green, pink grays. My mom always had me in pink. It's been my color from day one." Now, here's where things really heat up. Cam wasn't about to let Jim take all the credit. On his and Maze's podcast, Cam came out swinging, questioning Jim's whole Dipset story. He wasn't buying it. According to Cam, Jim wasn't a day one homie and definitely didn't grow up with him in the trenches like Jim always claims. Cam was calling out Jim for lying about his origins, and he wasn't holding back. Cam wasn't having it when Jim kept saying he was from Harlem. He straight up called him out. "Bro, you're not from Harlem. You're from the Bronx. Why do you keep acting like you're from Harlem?" Cam made it clear they didn't grow up together, no matter how Jim remembers it. "Yeah, your grandma lived in Harlem, and yeah, I'd see you from time to time when you came to visit. But we didn't grow up together, man. It's not like that." But Cam wasn't done. Jim had claimed that he watched Maze blow up after signing with Diddy, but Cam shot that down fast. "You only came around after I was already making moves," Cam said. "I was already out there, running with Maze, Big L, and my cousin Bloodshed under our crew. Children of the Corn," Cam went on to explain. "We were already popping in the streets, even before the internet was a thing. People knew we were about to get a record deal. It wasn't some surprise." Cam made sure everyone knew the real story. He was there at the start, making big moves before anyone even knew his name. Jim might have come later, but Cam was the one laying the foundation for everything that came after. Cam remembered a time when Jim first reached out to him after hearing their freestyles. He said, "Jim came up to me one day while I was just chilling. He said, 'Yo, I heard y'all killing it with the freestyles. My grandmother passed, and if you want to come through and hang out, you're more than welcome.'" At first, Cam and his crew didn't really get it. "It didn't make much sense to us," Cam explained. "Like, why is Jim inviting us over to his house? It felt a little random, but we kept hearing from him, 'Yo, you heard that new freestyle? come through if you want. Eventually, Cam decided to stop by. One day, I was leaving Maze's house on the west side and heading back to the east. I stopped by Jim's spot. His grandmother had passed, and he had a free crib, so I thought, why not? Cam laughed, adding, back then, I didn't care where I stayed. I was always moving around. I crashed at Duke the God's house, Maze's place with Kuda, even my grandparents' house. I stayed everywhere. Cam wasn't holding back when he clowned Jim for admitting that Maze taught him how to rap. Wait, Maze taught you how to rap? Cam said, laughing. You were just the little homie trying to fit in. For someone who's all about his street credibility, that's a bad look. Cam went on to say, we thought you were cool, a nice guy. But then Maze says, I'm gonna teach him how to rap. Maze literally set you down and showed you the ropes. You didn't make Dipset what it is, you were just a fan at the time. Cam was calling out Jim for acting like he built the diplomat movement, when in reality, he was just following others, learning from the real players in the game. You didn't create anything, you were just there, picking up lessons from people who were actually doing the work, Cam said. As for Jim's response, instead of getting into a heated argument, he teased a remix to his Harlem anthem, possibly thinking his music would speak louder than words. He didn't seem too bothered by Cam's shots, just kept it moving and focused on the music. So, while Cam's calling out Jim, Jim's letting his tracks do the talking. Looks like the beef might continue, but right now, it's all about the music. What do you think? Will the music settle the score, or is this just the beginning? Let us know your thoughts. Jim Jones is still holding it down in Harlem, rolling with a strong crew of Harlem heavyweights like Juelz Santana, Dave East, and Gucci. Now, while Jim didn't directly say he was responding to Cam, the streets quickly caught the vibe. Jim wasn't about to let things cool off. But just when it seemed like the heat was dying down, 50 Cent stepped in to stir things up again, and this time, he wasn't talking music. He brought up the old Informant rumors surrounding Jim. 50 posted a photo on Instagram of Jim standing next to Jay-Z, Diddy, Fat Joe, and others, and dropped a caption that read, LOL individual one calling the shots here. I know you working, so please don't say gangster is to me. Individual one? If you're wondering what that's all about, the individual one reference is tied to those rumors about Jim being a federal informant. 50 Cent didn't hold back and took things to the next level by sharing the transcript of that phone call. But let me break it down for you. Back in 2018, Tekashi 6ix9ine was arrested on serious charges, including federal racketeering and firearms charges. He was locked up alongside several members of the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, a violent group within the Bloods gang. The feds had been investigating 9 Trey for a while, and once Tekashi got caught up, he flipped and became a government witness to get a lighter sentence. Tekashi, whose real name is Daniel Hernandez, admitted to being part of a violent gang. He said he joined 9 Trey in 2017 and even helped them target a rival gang member. On top of that, prosecutors said the gang was involved in all kinds of illegal activity like robberies, drug dealing, and more across places like Manhattan, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. So here's the deal. Tekashi 6ix9ine, who is facing a crazy 47-year prison sentence, got some serious leniency thanks to his decision to snitch. In September 2019, he took the stand and testified against his former 9 Trey Bloods gang members, including people like Anthony, Harv Ellison, and Aljaya Newcomb. He gave detailed information about the gang's illegal activities, naming names and spilling the beans on what went down behind closed doors. Now, how does Jim Jones fit into all this drama? Well, Jim's name came up during the trial when the feds played some wiretap recordings of conversations Tekashi had with other gang members. One of those recordings included a chat between Jim Jones and Jamal Mel Murdered Green. They were talking about what to do with Tekashi after he publicly stepped away from the gang. In the conversation, Jim allegedly said Tekashi needed to be violated, a term many took as a threat of violence. Man, this whole thing just keeps getting crazier. When those wiretap recordings dropped, people couldn't stop talking. In one of the conversations, Jim Jones and Mel Murda were clearly upset with Tekashi 6ix9ine for turning his back on the gang. They both agreed that Tekashi needed to be violated for what he did, and it seemed like Jim was trying to make it clear that Tekashi was trying to play it cool by acting like he didn't have ties to the gang anymore. But Jim wasn't buying it. He said Tekashi was going to get hurt unless he had a whole army of security around him, and even then, he wasn't making enough money to protect himself. Then, Jim went even further, saying Tekashi wasn't in the gang anymore and that someone like Shottai, another 9 Trey member, should expose him as being kicked out. This tape stirred up a lot of questions. It not only showed Jim's connection to 9 Trey members, but it also raised a huge question. Why wasn't Jim Jones ever charged? He was right there on a federal wiretap talking about gang retaliation, and yet he never faced any legal consequences for it. Alright, here's where things get messy. After Jim Jones got caught on that federal wiretap, but never got arrested, people started asking questions. Why was he left off the hook when the feds were locking up other high-ranking 9 Trey members? That's when the rumors started flying. People started saying Jim might have been working with the feds or acting as an informant to avoid charges. The guy who pushed these rumors the most? Wack 100. He didn't hold back. Wack accused Jim of being a federal informant, saying the only reason Jim didn't get arrested after that wiretap was because he was helping the feds. Wack even went as far as challenging Jim to prove he wasn't cooperating with law enforcement. He made these claims on Clubhouse and during interviews with 6ix9ine, making it clear he didn't believe Jim's story. Jim didn't stay quiet about it though. He hit back, saying he's been running with the same crew for years, long before Wack even knew him. Jim pointed out that he was already part of Dipset, and his team included real street guys like Shottai, CFO Jordan, and Mel Matrix, people who had been around long before anyone started making noise about him. Alright, let's dive in. Things are getting messy, and it's hard to ignore the drama. Wack 100 has been really vocal about Jim Jones and his actions, claiming that Jim didn't take care of his people like he likes to say he did. People from Jim's past have been speaking out, and here's the kicker. Shottai was reportedly sleeping on a rug, and Mel Murda was living in a rough spot with his baby mom. Meanwhile, Jim was out meeting with Kanye and making big moves. People started questioning why he was living large while those around him were struggling. Now, Wack is dropping some serious allegations. He claims Jim was caught on a wiretap talking about getting rid of someone's security, stuff that was actually used in the 6ix9ine trial. According to Wack, the audio's out there, and you can listen for yourself if you want to get the full picture. Wack 100 has been calling out Jim Jones, asking why he wasn't arrested after being heard on a wiretap saying some shady things about 6ix9ine. Wack even suggested that Jim might have been working with the feds. 6ix9ine also jumped in, making some accusations about Desiree Perez from Roc Nation, but Wack quickly cut him off before it went too far. Jim Jones, however, didn't stay quiet for long. He shot back, denying the accusations and calling Wack a liar and a clout chaser. The problem is, he never really explained why he wasn't arrested even though he was part of the wiretap. There's no official proof that Jim Jones is a snitch, but the fact that he wasn't charged after all that, it definitely got people talking. Then 50 Cent decided to stir things up again, and that really set Jim off. Jim posted a photo of himself by the pool, responding to 50 with the caption, "Why you keep lying, LOL. I'm going back to sleep. Free Mel Matrix, till it's reversed." A lot of fans are still questioning Jim Jones, and every time this topic comes up, people are asking the same thing. How did he avoid charges when everyone else got caught up? With 50 Cent constantly keeping this drama alive, it doesn't look like this is going to die down anytime soon. One fan pointed out that Jim, a high-ranking gang member, supposedly ordered a hit on someone, but the person he told got arrested while he didn't. Something about that just doesn't feel right. Another fan reminded us that 6ix9ine warned us there were other snitches, but no one wanted to listen. Now we're all seeing it. So, what do you think? Do you believe Cameron and Jim will ever patch things up? Or is Dipset really done for good? And how do you feel about 50 Cent bringing up those informant rumors about Jim? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for the next video. You don't want to miss it.